Welcome back to the C Space Studio here at CES 2024. I am James Kotecki, joined by repeat guest, returning champion Andrew Wallenstein, President and Chief Media Analyst at Variety Intelligence Platform. Welcome back. So excited to talk with you again.
Good to be back.
So Variety Intelligence Platform, for those who don't know, I do know because we've chatted before, but can you just kind of define what the brand means here at the beginning of the year?
Sure. It is really, at the end of the day, the place where industry pros go to dig deep into the industry issues that matter most. We give people who really want to know about anything in this business that helps them do business with data, analysis, all sorts of things, tools that help them make money.
And it's Hollywood, it's media writ large, would you say? All sorts of things like that.
And I think we lean heavily into innovation and tech, but always about entertainment and media.
And you have a VIP Plus offering, I believe. Does that look different? Is that something about that changed in 2024? Is there something news there?
Well, it's actually it's a new offering that we call Vitals. And what it is it's everything that we've always done with VIP, but we've decided to put it into readers' inboxes every day at nearly half the price. And so it starts with a newsletter product that comes 5 days a week that has all the hallmarks of what people have always expected from VIP, and that is, again, data, insights, and all those kinds of things, but there's more to it than that. It's discounts to Variety events. You can interact with experts from VIP on a quarterly consultation, and a lot of things, but again, nearly half the price.
So I think it's fair to say that you're the one we got to check in with on many of the trends that we're talking about here in the C Space Studio, and I want to start with streaming. As we head into 2024, what is streaming going to look like for consumers? Obviously, an ad-supported tier plays a role for many of those people.
I would have to think that's going to be the biggest trend. I mean, it's something that clearly was building in 2023. In 24, I think it's really going to define the space. All the major players are going to be having what I would say is a maturing ad-supported business. Amazon, I think, is going to make the biggest splash in January when their Prime Video product will have an ad-supported product that you'll have to opt out of it.
And so, pay a little more.
Exactly. And so that, I think, represents the biggest change we've seen in the space in the last decade. And it's just sort of a sign of the times for a space where, if you are not collecting a dual revenue stream, you're doing it wrong at this point.
And is Amazon, do you think, somehow better or maybe just uniquely positioned here because they're actually selling products and they can just redirect you, through advertising to stuff that they're actually selling through their own platform?
Yeah, it really represents more than just marketers delivering message. It closes the loop. You can transact on the actual product. And I think it's this marriage of content and the actual transaction that I think represents probably the next big trend to come in the coming years, where it's about so much more than just hitting consumers with a message, it's setting up the actual transaction.
So Amazon, an e-commerce company, became a media company as well. Will we see some of these other media companies try to get into the e-commerce game? I suppose Disney is selling a lot of products. I can't think of too many physical products that Netflix is selling, for example.
No, I don't think Netflix is particularly well situated for this. Disney, I think, is somewhat better, but really, Amazon, I'd say, is probably leagues ahead of everyone else.
M&A is another trend, mergers and acquisitions. And I think just to set the table kind of philosophically, a conversation that I've had many times here in the C Space Studio is there's just a lot of streaming platforms. And there's, I guess we're not just talking about streaming platforms when we talk about M&A though. We're talking about many different kind of moves at the upper levels of these media companies. So in this era, do we see consolidation ahead?
Yeah, I mean, I'm loath to, though, lean too hard into this because I think probably last year we had the same conversation. People were expecting it, and it didn't really happen. This year, it's hard not to see how it doesn't. Starting with Paramount, all eyes right now are on that company. It seems like a move is going to happen. There's a bunch of different suitors. I'm not saying that's the only company where something's going to happen, but I'd be shocked if we were sitting here in early 25 and that company didn't marry off with someone else, and perhaps other moves.
How about, I want to talk about the Apple Vision Pro for a second, but is Apple TV also going to have an ad-supported tier?
We haven't seen any indication of that. I'd say Apple, I would be more likely to see Apple do M&A, at least on the streaming side, or in terms of bundling with other streaming services than I would see an ad play.
Because they're obviously a company that makes products, and one of those products is the Vision Pro.
Yeah.
That's coming out this year. People are very excited about it. Do you think it actually, how much do you think it really matters this year? Or is it still going to kind of be a year of testing and figuring it out?
Very much so. I think it's going to come out in early February. At the price point that it's at, it's only for early adopters. We're talking about something that's $3,500. I think it's the beginning of a shift, and it is way too soon to say whether this really is going to be anything like what Apple has done in terms of iPhone or iPad. You know, the early adopter reception, though, I mean, I'm sure it'll sell out on a limited basis, but not till I get my hands on this thing can I say whether is this going to be the next big thing.
Well, that's a good reason for them to send you one, if any of those people are listening.
Please call me.
We all want to try one and just try it for ourselves. Generative AI, huge topic at CES 2024. And I want to talk about it in the nature of Hollywood. So we obviously had the strike last year. The actors and writers went on strike. AI was a component of those conversations, and we spoke here earlier in the C Space Studio with Duncan Crabtree Ireland, the executive director of SAG-AFTRA. And so I want to hear from you, from your perspective, how much are studios, these media companies, really leaning into GenAI from the creative side? Is it still relatively experimental, or are there some big moves being made?
I'd say it's certainly experimental. Big moves, hard to say. I think on the stuff that Crabtree Ireland is looking at, I don't know if it's big moves. I would say more in terms of the production and post-production process. I would lean towards big moves, meaning that I think there's no chunk of that process that's not going to get revolutionized in the coming years by AI. And it's not necessarily the sexiest stuff in terms of when people think about actors being replaced or machines writing scripts. That's really interesting and kind of fascinating. But I think when you talk about the nuts and bolts of how images are made.
Like color correction, for example.
Right. I think that's really where, wonky as it sounds, that's really where we're going to see the impact first. And from a dollars and cents point of view, I think there is going to be a very quick transformation. And I think that's also going to really not only hit the bottom line, I think it's going to hit jobs.
Any other trends you want to highlight here at CES 2024?
I got to tell you, I went to the Sphere last night for the first time. And I really was blown away. The hype is so real. And I mean, we did get some news that just yesterday that the London version of the Sphere does not look like it's going to happen anytime soon. But I got to tell you, the spectacle that I witnessed, it's hard not to see how that type of technology is not going to catch on. It is just, I quite literally could not believe my eyes.
The immersiveness of it.
Yes, and so I can't imagine we're not going to see that type of spectacle not scale and spread relatively quickly.
So we can look for spheres and other kinds of geometric shapes maybe popping up in cities around America in the next decade or so.
Why not my home? How about my home?
Why not? Everyone could get their own personal sphere, maybe in their backyard. Andrew Wallenstein, Variety Intelligence Platform, we really appreciate you chatting, and thank you so much for coming back. And we hope to have you back again here in the C Space Studio.
It's a date.
All right. Well, I am James Kotecki, your host for conversations here in the C Space Studio with marketing, media, advertising, and branding leaders. We are at CES 2024. So many great conversations are just ahead. You can be streaming this live on Facebook, LinkedIn, X, formerly Twitter, and YouTube, all those CES social channels. And if you're doing that right now, thank you. Stay with us. More conversations to come.